Hey everyone, Gwen here. So, the year of 2019 is now over, and as we're entering the year of 2020, the beginning of a new decade, and possibly a full-blown apocalypse just waiting for us all right on the horizon,
fake laugh, hiding real pain.
I thought it would be fun to talk about some of my favorite films from last year. And this isn't just gonna be some measly top 5 or top 10. No, my friends. This is going to be my top 20 favorite films of 2019. Now, before I get into this list, I just want to clarify that these are my opinions, and that more than likely you'll disagree with my picks and or the order in which they're set. Also, I haven't seen every movie 2019 had to offer. I sure as hell tried, but I'm only human and I don't have the money nor the time to see every film there is. I hope you'll respect my opinion and maybe if we're lucky, even find some interest in seeing some films you may not have seen or revisiting one you may have not liked last year. So without further ado, let's get into the list. Starting off this list, we have Henry Dunham's The Standoff at Sparrow Creek, which is a film that quite literally came out of nowhere for me. I was scrolling through, some streaming services and randomly stumbled upon this, was intrigued by the premise, clicked play, and the rest is history. In the most simple, spoiler-free way I can describe said premise of this movie is that it starts in the aftermath of a violent shooting as a group of shady individuals meet in a warehouse and quickly find that a single, fully automatic AR-15 that connects them to the crime is now missing, leading them to question which individual of the group is responsible before time runs out. This is a beautifully shot, deliberately paced, excellently performed nail-biter of a thriller. Henry Dunham's script is also very well thought out, never letting the story become too dull nor too contrived, with a steady amount of twists and turns that are shocking yet never feel like they haven't been earned. And the movie actually has a lot on its mind, dealing with rather relevant themes regarding modern-day gun violence and police vigilantism. Definitely check this one out if you can. Following his feature debut, The Eyes of My Mother, Nick Pesch's sophomore effort Piercing is just as great, if not even more weird and disturbing. In an almost Lynchian crossbreed of erotic horror and black comedy, Pesch crafts a twisty, stylish, and engaging film with two excellent performances from Christopher Abbott and Mia Wasikowska, and an uncomfortably funny sadomasochistic sense of humor. It's certainly not for everyone, but in my opinion, this is an excellent progression of Nick Pesch's filmography as he's slowly making his way to becoming one of my favorite filmmakers working today, and I cannot wait to see what's to come.
I thought this is what you wanted.
Want me to do this to you?
Don't you want to do it to me?
Now, I was really questioning whether or not Joker would end up on my list. It's a film that I'm honestly conflicted on. The film is very derivative of Scorsese classics, and the script can be rather shallow at times, but in the end, the things I love about this film far outweigh the things I didn't. For starters, the most obvious reason to love this movie is Joaquin Phoenix's haunting performance as Arthur Fleck, the man who would become the Joker, which is indeed just as phenomenal and award-worthy as people say. But also, the cinematography and production design come together to create one of the best cinematic representations of the mythical Gotham City, while still being a somewhat grounded, real-world 1970s New York, immersing us in a truly sleazy and oppressive environment that holds a symbolic mirror to the ever-deteriorating mental state of the main character himself. And finally, the musical score by Hildur Guðnadóttir is one of the most beautifully dark and foreboding scores I've heard all year. It's a film that doesn't always succeed and really tries to be something more than just another run-of-the-mill cookie-cutter comic book movie, and for that, I can't help but love it.
If you just smile.
Speaking of movies about a depressed and deeply disturbed man with a toxic romantic crush on Zazie Beetz slowly losing his mind due to his own pathetic, miserable life and the misgivings of broken society, That leads us to Baba Kanwari's Wounds. Now, this movie's critical reception, to put it lightly, was not very good. It's a Hulu original horror movie that moves at a snail's pace, leading all the way up to easily one of the most weird and obscure endings I've seen the entire year, so naturally I understand it won't be for everyone. However, in my opinion, this is an excellent and disturbing film with a lot more on its mind than a few cheap scares. It never outright shows the audience its hand, rather dedicating itself to as much obscurity and metaphorical storytelling as it can, demanding us to truly listen to what it's trying to say, and this is an insanely relevant contemporary observation of addiction, and how evil ideas can slowly seduce and plant seemingly insignificant seeds inside wounded souls, possibly faster than ever in the new age of technology and social media, until that small, insignificant evil blooms to create real-world monsters. It's the kind of horror film we really need right now, and I'm happy it exists.
They made me do it.
I Trap the Devil is the feature debut of writer and director Josh Lobo with an estimated minimal budget of $1 million, taking place in a single location and shot in just 9 days. 9 days! Do you have any idea how hard it would be to shoot an entire feature film in just 9 fucking days? It would be a damn near suicide mission, but holy shit, Josh Lobo and his talented team did it. And they didn't just do it well, no, they did great. They took budgetary and time constraints that could have just as easily broken their will in half and leaned into it to make it one of their greatest strengths, creating an incredibly claustrophobic, unnerving experience that makes the most of the visual storytelling and a minimal cast. Lobo's surprisingly restrained screenplay had me constantly questioning the intentions and mental well-being of all the characters involved, as well as filling me with a feeling of ever-impending dread and uncertainty of who or what exactly is behind the dimly lit door in the basement.
Open the door.
Now, Michael Dougherty might just be one of my favorite filmmakers, being the mastermind behind Trick or Treat and Krampus, possibly two of the finest and most entertaining holiday horror films ever made, but admittedly, I was initially quite apprehensive to Godzilla, King of the Monsters, given my unfortunate distaste with its predecessor by Gareth Edwards. Thankfully, though, I was proven wrong, as this is one of the most purely entertaining films of the year, with awe-inspiring visuals, an orgasmic musical score by Bear McCreary, and very relevant themes regarding hot-button issues like climate change and ever-escalating tensions towards more war. It's a stunning, explosive blockbuster of almost biblical proportions and does the long and iconic legacy of Godzilla very, very proud.
This is Godzilla's world. We just live in it.
Damn right.
So, I have a confession to make. I'm not a huge fan of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. I know that's probably sacrilege to say, but yeah, I just really don't like it. But when I heard that Mike Flanagan, the filmmaker whom has yet to make anything I even remotely dislike, was set to write and direct the sequel almost 40 years in the making, you could say I was colored intrigued. And Dr. Sleep does not disappoint. In fact, Flanagan delivers what I might argue to be the perfect response to its predecessor. This film is a gentle, warm, and empathetic rebuttal to the original's cold cynicism and callousness, truly honoring and embracing the heart and soul of Stephen King's writing, while also still paying as many due respects to Kubrick's vision as it possibly can. And somehow, Flanagan still manages to make the film very much his own, separate from both King and Kubrick. It's an ambitious feat not dissimilar to how Denis Villeneuve approached the sequel to Ridley Scott's Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. Also, the film is carried beautifully by stellar performances from its three leads, because yes, There's three, especially from Ewan McGregor as an older, more world-weary Danny Torrance who approaches the film's deeply interwoven themes of addiction and the fear of giving into your worst self with a level of grace and nuance that really does elevate this film to heights that I genuinely wasn't expecting. It's a film that's able to stand on its own while also fixing nearly everything that's wrong with Kubrick's classic, maybe, just maybe even improving upon it, at least in my eyes. Ready or Not is one of the most clever, entertaining, and original horror films of the year, also quite possibly the funniest comedy I have seen in ages. There's not a dull moment in this film, from the screenplay to the direction to the outstanding cast, especially Samara Weaving, who gives probably her best performance to date. The movie tackles the true horror and absurdity of toxic family tradition and how difficult it is to break free from them. This movie consistently left me belly laughing and thinking about what it was trying to say, also ending on the most absurd note imaginable. There's so much to love about this movie. Please don't miss it.
He wanted to get married.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Jennifer Kent's sophomore effort, The Nightingale, is a truly stunning and harrowing work of art. Kent has crafted a tragic revenge tale that does not rest until it has turned your stomach into knots and shredded your nerves to ribbons. There's rarely a moment where an undeniably vile and inhuman injustice isn't being enacted to or by one of the characters on screen, forcing you to face the bleak, harsh reality it presents. This film is a genuine masterpiece that, while I may never want to see it again, I won't soon forget it.
Suddenly, she was free.
As someone that wasn't exactly a huge fan of The Witch, I was quite shocked to discover that The Lighthouse, Robert Eggers' second feature film, was actually right up my alley. The gorgeous, rightfully Academy Award nominated black and white cinematography and a 1:1 aspect ratio both emulates the era in which the film takes place, as well as creates a far more isolated and claustrophobic experience, getting you into the headspace of the film's two leads. Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson play off each other beautifully, delivering easily some of the best acting in each other's respective careers. Dafoe especially delivers several engrossing monologues throughout the film's runtime, chewing up any bit of scenery he possibly can. Also, while the film is insanely surreal and weird and mythological, as well as vague, and I do mean vague, its themes and deeper meaning are very clear and specific if you are willing to dig just a little bit deeper than the surface level.
How long have we been on this rock? 5 weeks? 2 days? Help me to recollect.
Damn, that's so many movies already, and we're only halfway through this list. So, to give my voice a break for a hot minute, why don't we just sit back for a quick intermission and watch a few brief clips of some honorable mentions.
Brothers love all that kung fu and karate.
Do you know karate?
No, but I'm a fast learner. I can learn how to chop me a mother. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what we should have? An all-girl kung fu army.
Oh, whatever you were, it's not who you are now.
I'm a warrior, aren't I? You could come to me.
I can't figure it out. I can't figure out what I'm supposed to do. Everything I do is not going right. Everything I do is not going right. I don't know what to do.
You're skinny. Why are you doing all this? Dude, you're my hero and shit.
You don't mind?
Frankly, I don't care. But I'd rather you keep that sort of thing to yourself. I just hope you realize you're choosing a life of being alone forever. You'll never be loved properly. Right, got to go.
So you dress for a meeting?
And this is how you dress in Florida? In a suit?
For a meeting? Anywhere. Florida, Timbuktu, I dress in a suit. For a meeting. And you're late.
What?
You're late.
You are in charge.
Exactly. Come on. Hey, what's rule number 1? What's rule number 1?
Party?
No, not party. No, it's not party.
All right, now let's jump back into this list, starting with number 10. Now, my favorite traditional superhero movie of the year, without a doubt in my mind, is Shazam. I remember back when DC announced they were developing this movie and being one of the only people at the time having faith in the project, even believing it could be one of their all-time best. And I'm very pleased to announce that I was right. David F. Sandberg delivers on what I believe to be one of the most quintessential superhero films for a new generation. This is the perfect movie to come out in this current age of superheroes dominating the cultural zeitgeist and kids growing up wishing they could have superpowers. And beyond that, this is just a beautifully sincere and heartwarming coming-of-age story of a lost boy learning the true value of family, empathy, and just being a responsible, decent human being. This film is a rarity in the superhero genre that understands it's not the superpowers or the epic end-of-the-world stakes and battles that makes the hero. It's the humanity.
You can leave tall buildings in a single bound.
One of the biggest surprises of the year, of course, has to go to Klaus. This is an immaculately animated film that brings Western 2D animation back in a huge way, being both a technological marvel and a touching reimagining of a tale as old as time. The characters are well realized, the messages and themes of the story, while not unusual for a Christmas movie, are told in such a way that feels fresh and more earnest than ever before, and the ending left me unexpectedly weeping tears of bittersweet joy. It's become an instant holiday classic for me, and you can bet, every year come Christmas time, I'm popping this one on the TV.
Eat our snow, you... They're not attached. Why aren't they attached? I thought they were attached. I would never, in a million years, have done what I just did if I didn't think these were attached.
It's very rare that you see a filmmaker directly follow up their worst film with what's possibly their finest work to date, but that is exactly what Rian Johnson does with Knives Out. Johnson's writing and direction are damn near flawless, creating one of the best whodunits I've ever seen, and one that surprisingly has far more important things on its mind than just figuring out who did a murder. Ana de Armas and Daniel Craig, as well as the rest of the star-studded cast, command the screen in such a subversive mystery that manages to be hilarious, thrilling, and thought-provoking all at the same time.
I think you have something you want to tell me.
David Robert Mitchell's third feature film, Under the Silver Lake, is probably the definitive noir mystery for a new age, as well as being his first masterpiece. Andrew Garfield delivers a fantastic, nuanced performance as an aimless slacker with nothing left to live for but the mystery in a world with little mystery left to explore. There's so many layers and nuances to nearly every aspect of this film that it could honestly take up an hour-long video analysis to anyone out there dedicated enough to pull it off. It's a cynical, nihilistic tale inside of a colorful and enticing shell that, in the end, left me empty and full of questions in all the best ways. After Get Out, it was clear Jordan Peele had set an insanely high bar for himself in his second feature film, which leads us to, well, Us. Now, this is certainly a more polarizing film among audiences in comparison to the overwhelming love and praise given to Peele's debut feature, and I'd probably contribute a lot of that to the much more abstract and allegorical approach this time around, as opposed to Get Out, which, while thematically challenging, is rather simple and straightforward, at least on a surface level. After my initial viewing of Us, even I was left a little confused and bewildered by some of the strange creative choices made by Peele throughout the film, especially in the final act. I was really unsure of whether I liked it or not, but as I thought about things more and certain implications the film had left me with, I realized I loved this movie. Peele, rather than going more mainstream, actually went deeper into the weird and complex. This is a film that, rather than politely asking, demands you to listen and pay attention to and think about what it's trying to say. Also, it cannot go without saying that Lupita Nyong'o gives a career-best performance in this film, truly bringing breathtaking levels of nuance and intensity to her dual performance as Adelaide in Red. It's really a shame she wasn't nominated for Best Lead Actress for this year's Academy Awards, but, you know, she's a winner in my heart at least.
Be careful.
Hey, anyone remember that little Spider-Man fan film Eclipse from a few years back? Yeah, well, Al Weitz, the guy who made it, finally wrote and directed his first official feature film in Starfish, and it is nothing short of a goddamn masterpiece. This is one of the most emotionally affecting, visually arresting, and deeply surreal experiences I have had in recent memory. Virginia Gardner's captivating performance as a lone woman left to fend for herself in an apocalyptic event is strong enough to carry this movie entirely on its own, but Al Weight's ambitious writing and direction, as well as Alberto Paneras' awe-inspiring cinematography, really taps into something visceral, exploring feelings of grief and dissociation, self-loathing and regret, all culminating in a truly cathartic final scene that left me speechless and in tears.
I know the saddest thing about everybody being gone. The lost stories. People are gonna die anyways, but their stories don't have to.
Lulu Wang's The Farewell is one of those rare films that the fact the story is being told by someone that lived it is felt in every frame and every line of dialogue. There's a unique level of raw honesty and authenticity to this movie that I just don't see enough of. Wang's experience makes her uniquely qualified to tell this story, and you can tell. It's a small, beautiful, and bittersweet slice of life tale that I am honored to have gotten the chance to experience. And with time, I hope more people do as well.
生活呀，不光是你去做什么，更是你如何去做。
好多了，再来点气儿，再来点气儿。
So, apparently there's people out there offended by the mere existence of Taika Waititi's latest film, Jojo Rabbit. I definitely cannot agree with those people because I fucking love this movie. It's honestly the kind of satirical film we need right now. In a world where hate and fascism are unfortunately on the rise again, Jojo Rabbit decides to look to the past and see Nazi Germany through the eyes of a child that has been raised in this kind of political climate. It's a movie about breaking free from toxic indoctrination and growing beyond it to see what these kind of ideologies truly are at their core: ridiculous, petty, damaging, and cruel. But most of all, this is a film that shows us that in a world of hatred and bigotry, the only salvation or true light we have is a little bit of love.
You okay? Oh god, nothing makes sense anymore. Yeah, I know, it's definitely not a good time to be a Nazi. Dancing
Holy fucking shit! Bong Joon-ho's Parasite is an absolutely flawless masterpiece, which is probably to be expected from him at this point, considering his absolutely stellar body of work, but god damn, was I still left in total shock and disbelief by how perfect this movie is on literally every single imaginable level. The screenplay, the direction, cinematography, performances, production design, editing, so on, everything is so fucking perfect. It's almost like Bong Joon-ho heard the phrase, "there's no such thing as the perfect movie," and saw that as a simple challenge because, oh my god, this is so good that it almost feels effortless, despite me knowing that couldn't be farther from the truth. This is a film that, even beyond its stellar technical artistry, also has a lot to say about the very complex and yes, parasitic nature of a capitalist society. But it never beats you over the head with its message, nor is its goal to really even condemn or cast blame on any of the characters, like most movies dealing heavily with themes of classism do, but rather presents a very nuanced, enlightening discussion on the matter. It's a movie that makes its political ideas known and clear to anyone willing to listen and have that discussion, yet never feels like it is talking down to anyone. Bong Joon-ho has made something truly special here, and hopefully we'll be continuing to talk about it and its message for years to come. Okay, so we're finally here, my number one movie of the year. Now, before I reveal what it is, I just want to clarify something. While this is my favorite movie of the year, I in no way believe it to be the best movie of the year. That title easily goes to Parasite, which is why it's my number 2. However, there was a movie that, while having its imperfections, had a profoundly deeper impact on me. A movie that resonated with me on a far more intimate level and came at exactly the right time in my life last year. And so, my favorite film of 2019 is none other than Glass.
What a twist!
I know, this movie, like most other M. Night Shyamalan films, is practically despised by many other film fans on the internet, but god damn it, I love this movie. Glass acts as the final chapter, the third act, if you will, of Shyamalan's East Rail 177 story. Unbreakable is one of my all-time favorite films, and Split was a really great return to form for Shyamalan, and well, I felt Glass was a really great final piece to this really intriguing and moving alternative spin on superhero mythology. At some point, I really want to do a full-on video essay of the entire trilogy, but for now I just want to talk about how this film specifically impacted me and why it's my favorite film of the year, despite me not exactly feeling it's the best. Last January, when this film came out, I was dealing with a lot of emotional pain and distress. Regarding my identity specifically, I felt an intense level of shame and doubt about who I was and not really knowing how to express myself without the fear of being condemned for it. Then, I, being the massive Shyamalan fan I am, decided to go to the theater one night and see this movie to maybe, I don't know, lift my spirits a little bit. And by the time the end credits were rolling, I was crying. All of the weight of what I was dealing with had suddenly been lifted by this movie, and it finally allowed me to release so many emotions. This was a movie that told me it was all right, the movie that told me that I wasn't a mistake, that I was spectacular, no, extraordinary. It was the film that gave me permission to be my own hero. It was a film that actually inspired me to come out as Gwen, my true self, and to make this channel reality. Without this movie, this channel would not exist. Hell, I probably wouldn't even exist anymore without this film. That's why it's so important to me. And ultimately, that's why Glass is my favorite film of 2019.
Are you ready? What
do we call you, sir?
First name, Mr. Last name, Glass.
Oh, wow. Now that was a long list. If you made it this far, I want to say thank you for sticking around all the way to the end, and especially through that last bit there. Apologies for getting a little emotional. I just felt it was kind of necessary to explain why that movie was so important to me. But aside from that, I'd also like to thank you all for such a good year on this channel. I know I didn't wind up making nearly as many videos as I wanted to, though that's certainly going to change this year. But I got so many lovely responses on the videos I did make, and I got to collaborate with so many wonderful, talented creators on this platform, and made new friends that I'm so fucking happy to have in my life. It really was the shining light in my life last year, and despite some complications, I'm hoping for an even better 2020. So many exciting things for this channel on the horizon. Please believe me whenever I say that. I have so many things that I have in the pipeline right now. But anyway, if you like this video, please go ahead and share it around anywhere if you can. Like the video, and if you haven't yet, even consider subscribing. So, until the next video, I'll be seeing you again soon.